Thomas Edison said that if we did everything that we are capable of doing, we will literally astound ourselves. In other words, we will shock ourselves that we were able to do those things. And the way the human is structured is very extremely interesting. The human was never structured negatively. The human was never structured to walk in lack. The human was always structured to operate in abundance, in overflow, to such an extent that they are solutions. You exist as a solution. I exist as a solution in one way or another, in our own unique capabilities and in our own unique capacities. So what do you do when you go through a broke moment? What do you do when you go through a slump moment, where you are feeling the opposite of what I'm talking about? You're feeling inadequate. You're feeling you don't have what it takes to not only take care of yourself, but also to take care of other people around you. What do you do?
Welcome to the Life Signatures podcast with Lawrence Namale. Lawrence is a life coach, author, and keynote speaker who loves to tackle different topics on purpose, productivity, and resilience. His mission in life is to awaken all your boundless possibilities available in you. Life Signatures podcast is dedicated to bring to reality every single person who knows that deep down in their gut, there's got to be more to life than this. And now, here is your host, Lawrence Namale.
Ladies and gentlemen, the human is a creature of purpose. The only species that I know that is a species of purpose. I think it's Raphael McManus who said that bees create honey, spiders create webs, and the human creates futures. You understand? The human is the only species on the face of the earth that is a species of conscious purpose. The lion doesn't know my purpose is to eat antelopes. The bee doesn't know my purpose is to create honey. They just do what's instinctively put inside of them. But the human thinks about futures. The human thinks about creation, thinks about development, thinks about growth. In other words, the human is made in such a way that we can be full of ourselves, excuse the pun, but we can operate from an abundance mentality, an overflowing mentality, in that we are enough in ourselves and we can do something to contribute to the betterment of society. We are part and parcel of a whole tapestry, and we bring in our own uniqueness as a contributory factor into impact, into influence, into growth, into development of the universe one way or another, in our own unique, mighty or small ways. That's how we were created. But invariably, each and every one of us, we face the exact opposite of what I've talked about. We face, if we're not careful, situations, and it's a bad thing, why we face situations that are spelling the opposite. They're telling us we are not enough, we are inadequate, we are insignificant, we are worthless. And if we're not careful, friends, it is possible for us to do the exact opposite of what Thomas Edison said, that we live not doing what we are capable of doing. We live not doing everything that we are capable of doing, Because we are feeling inadequate, we're feeling worthless, we're feeling not enough. And so we act that way for the rest of our lives. And what do we do for the rest of our lives? What we do for the rest of our lives is just to make sure that there is food on the table, even if it's once a day. Make sure that there is shelter, that we are going to sleep, that we're going to have clothes on our backs. And so we live in this survival mode, and we live a broke moment for a long period of time, or we live a slump for a long period of time. What we need to learn is, how do we overcome? Because I believe that if what Edison said is true, then we are creatures who are solutions waiting to happen. And you cannot be a solution when you're broke. I mean, it goes without saying. Now, when I start speaking like this, people will start talking about, this is the refrain that motivational speakers and prosperity preachers normally use. But those guys, they normally do have a point. That you cannot have impact when you're not adequate in and of yourself. You cannot be a solution provider when you yourself need to be provided for. And those moments in life, they come at times, and if we are not careful with those moments, they can actually define who we are. We are not human doings. Like I said yesterday, we are human beings, and the way we are determines what we're going to do. But that's not supposed to be the way it is at the end of the day. Sometimes what we do is because of the decision that we've made, not of how we're feeling we are. So you might be experiencing a broke situation in your life, a broke moment. We've learned so far that it is supposed to be temporary if you are intentional about it. But if you are not intentional about it, chances are that it can become a permanence. We've learned that there are some things that are in your control, and that is where the secret is, and that's what I'm going to talk about in these episodes. There's always going to be something that you and I can do, things that are in your control. Unfortunately for us, the things that are in our control, at times they don't give us immediate respite out of the physical situation, the tangible situation that we're facing. What is in my control is not necessarily going to bring money, so to speak. What is in someone else's control is probably what is going to solve the situation. And so the paradox is that we will sit and wait for what is outside of our control to happen so that we can get out of this situation. And that is a wrong way of operating. What we need to do is not to be in that trap, not to be trapped in inactivity, not to be trapped in feelings of inadequacy, not to be trapped in feelings of we don't have options to be able to expend, we don't have options to be able to use. What we need to do is to understand that the way out of the slump, the way out of the foreboding situation, the way out of the brokenness, is to do what is within our hands, what is within our control. This man called John Wesley said something to the effect that do everything that you can with all the efforts that you can, as much as you ever can. The word I can is a very important word, it's a very powerful word, and sometimes we are blinded or we are paralyzed by the word IQ. I don't have this. When we talk about IQs, you start separating people. This one is intelligent academically, this one is not. And so the ones who are not intelligent academically, they end up sitting, folding their hands and doing nothing because I don't have IQ. It's the same thing I'm talking about, the brokenness here. That I don't have control over this situation, so I'm going to sit back and do nothing and wait until the government to come and help me, and wait until My relatives knocks on the door and they get me out of this. But we've said the power out of this situation is what is within your control. I cannot begin to tell you the potency, the power, the absolute energy that is derived from little things that are within your control. You cannot predict how they are going to turn. And it starts, like we said in the first episode number 289. We said that the very first thing that you need to do is to decide. Make a decision. Make a decision that against this slump, against this density I'm feeling, against this heaviness I'm feeling, against this inadequacy, this foreboding situation I'm feeling, I'm going to rise up and do something that is within my control. So yesterday we said that you need to be active. You need to do an activity. We say that it is easy for you to change your psychology by the route of your physiology. In other words, you do something physically intensive. And as you do, something in the gears of your mind starts clicking into place, giving you motivation, giving you creativity, giving you inspiration, opening up your eyes and seeing that, hey, it's not doom and gloom. After all, there's something that options are normally generated when you are in motion, not when you are sedentary, waiting and meditating and thinking and worrying. Options are normally generated when you are in action, doing something, however disconnected that activity might be, in bringing a respite to your brokenness and to your slumpness. Just do something. Your physiology, your state of mind is the most critical thing when you're going through a slump. The second thing that you can do, and I want us to discuss it today, is simply this. You need to give something. It's counterintuitive, isn't it? Because when you're going through a block moment, a slump situation, what does it take away from you? It takes away from you the power to influence, the power to impact, the power to cause a difference in someone else's life, however little, however minimal it is. But you see, that's the reason as to why you are alive. You are a human, a creature of purpose. Your purpose is to contribute. Your purpose is not to amass and to have things come into your life. Your purpose is to have things get out of your life and contribute, impact, influence, make a difference in someone else's situation. Even if it's not in someone else, maybe it's in the environment or it's in something else. That is why you and I are alive today. And so when you are broke, you do the exact opposite. Naturally, even unconsciously, you shrink back from life. Marianne Williamson said that there's nothing enlightened about shrinking. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And it's easy for us to shrink back. And how do we shrink back? We stay in that bed. We hold on to what we have. The coronavirus came and people went out into the supermarkets and they started hoarding things. Selfishness. They started buying everything, a whole emptying shelf of things, foodstuffs and so on. And I know we need to be wise. We need to, build reserves and so on. We need to fortify ourselves against a setback, against a crisis. But we need to be careful that we are not doing the opposite of what our purpose is. We need to learn to give when we are broke. Give what? You might be asking me. Give of yourself. Give of your regard. Did you know you can give prayer? You can pray for someone else. Give a smile. Give a phone call. Maybe you don't even have airtime. Give a wave. Give a smile. Give your help to someone. Because the very essence, again, it goes back to your psyche. It goes back to your mind. The giver gets significance. The giver gets a reward that cannot be quantified in terms of money. I know you need money out of the broke moment and out of the broke situation. I know you need it. Did you know that there could be someone who is in a worse situation than yourself, probably? And what if you look around? Did you know there's something you can always give? There's something you can always give. I remember seeing this thing on Facebook. I think it's Humans of New York, that Facebook page, where they did, probably it's that one or it's another one, they did an experiment with a homeless person. Invariably, homeless people were more givers than guys who had it all together. I mean, a homeless person picked up a wallet, was full of some dollars in there, and this homeless person returned it to the guy who had just dropped it. You can always give something. It's inside of us humans. But the problem is, whenever we're going through a crisis, there's these warning signs, and this is where the brain comes in. The brain normally wants us to fortify ourselves as much as we can, so that we don't lose, so that we remain safe. We're looking for our own safety. But I learned that sometimes when we break our own safety and reach out to a fellow human being, it communicates to us that we are creatures of purpose, and that way it strengthens our identity, and the payback we get from it is much more powerful than the payback you get physically in terms of money or something. So let us be humane when you're going through a broke moment or a broke situation. Moments like this, they make you feel like you cannot contribute. That morning, I brought some snack for breakfast from a local vendor. The morning that I was feeling foreboding, I was feeling broke, I was feeling like I was in a slump. Then instinctively, I thanked the vendor from my heart. I just say thank you from my heart. As I did that, some weight was lifted off of my chest and off of my back. I do not know the mechanics in the spirit of what happened. I cannot tell you. But that is the moment I realized that I had to talk about this. That is the moment that I realized that giving is such a potent force to counter feelings of worthlessness, to counter feelings of insignificance and of inadequacy. And again, the illusion that you are under when you're going through will tell you that you do not have anything to give. You are inadequate, you're worthless, you cannot do it. But that's wrong. That morning, I had gratitude, and that is what I gave. You could have seen my self-worth skyrocketing just in a flash. Giving, friends, is a potent force to counter feelings of worthlessness, feelings of inadequacy when you're broke or when you're going through a personal slump moment. You ought to try it. You ought to try it. Yesterday we said that what is changed when you do something is your psychology, your state of mind. Today, what is changed is your identity, your psyche, that you are something. You are someone. You can do something. You can contribute. And that is the feeling that you need even as you're going through a broke moment or a broke situation. So my admonition is, against the feeling of density that you're feeling today, reach out. Give whatever it is that you can be able to give. The beneficiary is not the one who is receiving. Beneficiary is the giver, yourself, and you need it. Until tomorrow, bye-bye. A special shout out to my mentor Jeffrey Howard of Visionary Business University, found at mastermindmentor.com, who has graciously provided me with the soundtrack and the introductory track to this podcast. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you for listening to Life Signatures Radio. If you enjoyed today's show, subscribe to Life Signatures Radio on iTunes, Stitcher, or visit our website at lifesignatures.libsyn.com. Life Signatures Radio, fresh, clean, and inspiring.